welcome to Coaster Kurt's commentary. Today we're going to be talking about rating roller coasters. I'm going to tell you all about my system for rating roller coasters. We're going to talk about a bunch of different metrics that make roller coasters good, and we're going to open it up for your own opinion. And this might be a little bit of a long video, so we're going to dive right into it. So let's talk about rating roller coasters versus ranking roller coasters. So when you hear ranking roller coasters, that usually means like somebody's going to give you their top 10 or their top 25. When ranking roller coasters, I feel like ranking is more based off vibes and how a coaster makes you feel. And it's kind of easy to play favorites, especially because a lot of roller coasters have a ton of lore or history or reputations. When I go in and rate a roller coaster, I use a rating system where I give each coaster a score on a scale from 0 to 10 on 10 different metrics. With that, you're actually quantifying like what makes a roller coaster good. When I use multiple different metrics, it kind of helps you give a more unbiased score. And it kind of sort of levels the playing field for some of these coasters. With that possible score out of 10, you really get down into the nitty-gritty and gives you a more like detailed analysis of these coasters. These ratings aren't explicitly definitive. I still definitely have favorites, like Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster. That's definitely one of my favorite coasters of all time, even if it doesn't score absolutely the highest on my coaster rating scale. Why do we rate roller coasters? So everybody has rides that you like or don't like, and when I'm talking to somebody else that's not a roller coaster enthusiast like I am, one of the first questions I'm always asked is, okay, like what's your favorite coaster? I rode 103 roller coasters last year, and this person's asking me to pick one roller coaster that's my favorite. So I rate and rank them so that I have an answer to that question. This way, I can have a more in-depth conversation about that question. If there's one thing about me, I love to talk about roller coasters. We also rate and rank roller coasters to help inform other park goers. Coaster enthusiasts like me, we pretty much know like what rides are great and not great, and know what rides are worth the travel or worth the wait time. More casual park goers, I feel like they kind of look to other coaster enthusiasts to let them know like, hey, I have to travel to Carowinds to go ride Fury 325. Or, oh, there's like a 3-hour wait for Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I think I'll skip that and come back when the wait time is lower. If you've never ridden that coaster before, how do you know it's worth the wait or worth the travel? So let's talk about the method that I use to rate my roller coasters. First of all, I am a little bit of a data analytics nerd. I love working with numbers and I love working with spreadsheets. I have a spreadsheet for everything. Here's my coaster credits spreadsheet. It's a little bit crazy, I know, but I love data, I love data analytics, I love spreadsheets, and I love roller coasters. And roller coasters have a lot of stats and numbers to work with. When I rate roller coasters, I use a rating system where I give each coaster a score on a scale from 0 to 10 on 10 different metrics. And then I take those scores and average them together to give it one overall score. The metrics that I use are going to be intensity, pacing, operations, smoothness, layout, sense of speed, restraints, theming, airtime, and significance. Here in a minute, I will explain what each of those mean. If you don't know what some of them are, don't worry, I'll explain all of it. So I sit down at my desk, I fill out my roller coaster spreadsheet while filming my explanation for each rating that I'm giving, so I can get that explanation live while I'm rating it. I try to do all of those ratings within a week of returning from my roller coaster trip so that those experiences are fresh on my mind. I rode 103 roller coasters in 2025, and I have a ratings video for every single one of them. I've done all of these ratings throughout the year, so I have all those videos stacked up and ready to go, and I'm about to start releasing my coaster ratings series. Here's a little disclaimer before we dive into what each metric means. At the end of the day, these are all just my own personal opinions from my actual experiences. Some of these roller coasters I only had the chance chance to ride them once, or maybe multiple times, but only on one day. Some roller coasters might have better days than other days. Sometimes you have different operators running the rides on different days, and ride ops play a vital role in what makes a coaster good. Also, there are roller coaster enhancements going on all the time, whether it's a new paint job or new theming or a complete retrack. Those types of enhancements change all the time. My rating might be different than the updated ride experience. So again, all of these ratings are based on my experience, whether I rode that roller coaster 1 to 5 times in a single day, or like Six Flags Fiesta Texas, when I go there maybe 2 or 3 times a month and ride those roller coasters. Also, you may have a different opinion than me. That's great. I welcome the conversation. Again, I love talking about roller coasters. So if you think my opinion is wrong, or if you just have a different opinion or a better opinion, like, let me know down in the comments. So let's talk about each individual metric that I mentioned earlier. That's intensity, pacing, operations, smoothness, layout, sense of speed, restraints, theming, airtime, and significance. Before we dive into these individual metrics, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It really helps out my channel and I greatly appreciate it. First, let's start out with a big one, intensity. So with intensity, there's like 4 main things that affect intensity of a roller coaster. That's gonna be the max G-forces that you feel, speed, drop, and height. With G-forces, there's a few different types of G-forces, like laterals, negative G-forces, positive G-forces. Lateral G-forces are like sideways, side to side. So if you're going through a sharp turn and you get slammed into the side of the car. Positive G-forces is like when it forces you down into the seat of the train. After the drop and you come into a valley and you're going back up the next hill, that valley, you're gonna feel those G-forces forcing you down into the seat. So with negative G-forces, this is gonna happen like at the top of a hill. This kind of like forces you up out of your seat, and sometimes you get really gentle negative G-forces, and that's what we call floater airtime. It's just kind of makes you feel really light, almost like 0 G, like you're floating. That's actually my favorite G-force. That's my favorite feeling on a roller coaster. And then sometimes you get those really intense negative G-forces, and we call that ejector airtime. And that's when you crest an airtime hill at high speed, you're kind of forced really hard up out of your seat and your legs are like pushed really hard up against the restraints. Not exactly my favorite, but it's really cool sometimes. So with speed, obviously if you have a really slow roller coaster, your intensity rating is gonna be pretty low. If you have a really fast roller coaster, doesn't always mean your intensity is gonna be really high, but with that speed, you kind of have these other factors that factor into what your intensity is going to be. Obviously, if you have a really good drop, a really high drop, really steep drop, that's going to boost your intensity up. A really tall roller coaster is probably going to be a really intense roller coaster. Other roller coasters that are super low to the ground can be less intense, but if they use their speed and pacing and everything else just right, it can increase their intensity even if they don't get too far off the ground. Some examples of what I consider a perfect 10 in intensity are gonna be like Fury 325 at Carowinds, or Mr. Freeze at Six Flags Over Texas, Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, and Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Some really low scoring examples on intensity are gonna be almost any kiddie coasters, Great Pumpkin Coaster at Kings Island, or the Mini Mine Train at Six Flags Over Texas. Also Beach Rescue Racer at SeaWorld San Antonio. That's kind of a family coaster, so it's a little slightly more intense, but it's not a 0. And then like Roadrunner Express at Six Flags Magic Mountain, same story on that one. Let me know down in the comments of a roller coaster that you think would score a perfect 10 in intensity. The next metric we're going to talk about is pacing. Pacing is kind of defined as the number of elements that a roller coaster executes within a given time frame. So like, is this roller coaster whipping you through each element really, really quickly in quick succession? Is there a lull in timing for the elements? And it's not just about fast or slow, but more about the overall experience of pacing and how you experience these elements. On Titan at Six Flags Over Texas, really intense first half. You get to the mid-course brake run and it almost stops you completely on the mid-course brake run, and you just really slowly dive into that next half of the roller coaster. That mid-course brake run is necessary because a lot of people would be blacking out on that second big helix on Titan, but that doesn't change the fact that it kind of ruins the pacing. Sometimes it's nice to have a quick second to just take a breather in the middle of a roller coaster, like on Beast at Kings Island. That second chain lift hill kind of towards the middle of the ride is nice to like take a breather. So it's a really excellent way to slow down that pacing and then pick it right back up and get really intense. Siren's Curse has a really slow-paced start. You got the chain lift hill, you go out onto the platform, and then it slowly tilts you over, just slowly building that intensity. So it has a really slow pacing at the beginning, and then boom, straight into the drop, the dive, and you're going through a really intense ride, and the pacing on the rest of the ride is excellent. Pacing can sometimes be an art form, and those are some really good examples of it. Some perfect 10 examples for pacing are going to be like Banshee at Kings Island. I think that roller coaster is perfectly paced. Diamondback at Kings Island and Siren's Curse at Cedar Point. Some low scoring examples for pacing. Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld San Antonio. You basically have two different elements and they're paced terribly. It's a terribly paced roller coaster. What do you think are some of the best paced roller coasters out there? Let me know down in the comments. Up next, we're going to talk about operations. So operations has a heavy reliance on our heroes of the theme park, the ride operators. Ride ops can make or break a roller coaster experience. However, there's only so much a ride operator can do. Station layout is also a major factor in operations of a roller coaster. You know, are there clear lines going to each row? How is the queue line set up? Do people exiting the roller coaster and getting onto the roller coaster, do they cross paths and make a traffic jam? Also, how do I physically get on the roller coaster? Is it a sit down, stand up? Is it a lay down? Sometimes that can slow down operations. And do you have enough space to navigate to your seat and get into your restraints? Restraints also play a big factor in roller coaster operations. Are they easy to use, easy to understand, easy to attach? Do you do it yourself? Do you have to wait on a ride operator to do your restraint for you? Reliability of the roller coaster. Is this roller coaster down for maintenance a lot of the time? Does it go down multiple times throughout the day? Is it down for extended periods of maintenance? Also, how do we tackle our loose article policies on each roller coaster? If you have ride lockers before you get in the queue line, that's great. That's going to speed up operations at the station so much faster. If you have cubbies on the other side, then you have to walk through the train, drop off your loose articles, get back on the train. That kind of slows down operations a little bit. Also, how many trains each roller coaster can run at one given time. If you can run 3 trains and move people through, you're going to speed up operations a lot. All of those things can kind of speed up or slow down a roller coaster operations. Let's talk about perfect 10 operations roller coasters. Some examples are going to be like Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I think they do an excellent job all the time. Maverick at Cedar Point. Maverick runs more trains than I think I've seen almost any other roller coaster run. Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas. It's a shuttle roller coaster, but they have this turntable in the station so that they can run 2 trains. Millennium Force kind of scores mid-tier on operations. I was at Cedar Point for 3 days, and all 3 of those days, Millennium Force was down and back up and down and back up. And it was just difficult to try and find a ride. The lowest scoring operations roller coaster that I have is Judge Roy's Scream at Six Flags Over Texas. I've been to Six Flags Over Texas 4 or 5 times, and I've only seen that ride open on 1 trip. Let's talk about Smoothness next. So Smoothness is kind of self-explanatory. Is a roller coaster ride smooth like glass, or is it like really rough like a back road? So it's not just about the tracks and how bumpy they are, but sometimes those elements can be really jerky, and if your restraints aren't really comfortable, that definitely affects the smoothness as well. If a roller coaster is really old, like an old wooden roller coaster, it'll get rougher as it ages, and then sometimes they retrack it and they'll make it smoother. Also, obviously, a big part of this is going to be the track material. Steel roller coasters are usually smoother than your wooden roller coasters. So some perfect 10 examples for smoothness are going to be like Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, really smooth ride. Snoopy's Soapbox Racers at Kings Island. It's a really brand new ride, and that thing was smooth as glass. Siren's Curse at Cedar Point, another brand new ride, smooth as glass. Very low scoring smoothness roller coasters are going to be Carolina Gold Rusher at Carowinds, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Batman the 4D Free Spin at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I don't like that one. It jerks you around way too much. And then like Hurler at Carowinds. It's a really rough wooden roller coaster. Let me know down in the comments what you think some of the smoothest roller coasters in the world are. God, I really hope I don't have to refilm all that. So next we're going to talk about layout. So layout of a roller coaster is obviously, you can only work with so much depending on how long your track is. So layout is heavily dependent on track length and elements. And are those elements too close together, too far apart? Layout can also affect and interact with pacing. Is there something really exciting or record-breaking about this layout or those elements that makes this layout stand out from the rest? Where is this roller coaster placed? Is it placed over the front gate, like gatekeeper? Does this roller coaster have a presence in the park, or is it out in the woods like the Beast? Top Thrill 2 has a ginormous presence. It's 420 foot tall. Of course, it's going to have a huge presence right in the middle of the park. So all of those types of things kind of affect the score for layout. Perfect 10s for layout are going to be like Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. It has a huge presence in the park. It goes up and down over the quarry wall. The layout, the elements are all perfectly done. I think it's an excellent layout. Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. It goes across the street and it's one of the first things you see as you're pulling up to the park. Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. It's a Mobius strip roller coaster. Of course, it's a perfect layout. Low scoring layouts are going to be the Route 66 West Coaster at Pacific Point. That layout's not super exciting. It's got cool placement because it's over the Pacific Ocean, but not that great. Batman 4D Free Spin at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I hate those layouts. It's just one boom square. You go up and wee, and it's not great. I don't like it. The Great Pumpkin Coaster at Kings Island is going to score really low on a layout because it's not very long, not very exciting, doesn't have a lot going on. It's a kiddie coaster. It's not supposed to. What are some roller coasters that you think would be a perfect 10 in layout? Next, we'll talk about sense of speed. It's not just about miles per hour. It's not just about how fast you go. It's about the feeling of fast. Does it feel like you're going really fast? That's what sense of speed means. So pacing can also really affect your sense of speed. If you just have a piece of straight track that you're going really fast on, like sometimes you don't feel like you're going that fast because you're not whipping through different elements and stuff. So your pacing and your layout can help affect your sense of speed. Whether you're going through different tunnels or if you're really low to the ground, you can feel a higher sense of speed. If you're in a wide open space, you don't really feel that much sense of speed. Basically, sense of speed is just, does it feel fast? So perfect 10 examples of sense of speed, obviously Top Thrill 2. It's going to be perfect 10 on sense of speed. You feel like you're going really fast on that because you are. Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm, again, a really fast roller coaster. And then Beast at Kings Island. May not be the fastest, but you're pretty low to the ground and you're whipping through a bunch of elements, so it feels like you're going really fast. Low scoring roller coasters for sense of speed are going to be like Iron Dragon at Cedar Point. It goes 40 miles an hour and it really feels like you're going slower. Blue Streak at Cedar Point, again 40 miles an hour, feels like you're going slower. Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister Coaster only goes 16 miles an hour and it's made for kids, so the sense of speed score is going to be really low. Whether it's a roller coaster that goes through tunnels or it's just a really fast roller coaster, tell me down below what you think a roller coaster that scores a perfect 10 on sense of speed would be. Now we're going to talk about restraints. So let's talk about the different types of restraints. You've got a simple lap bar, you've got seat belts, you've got the over-the-shoulder restraints. Some of them have the comfort collar, whatever the X2 has going on over there. It's kind of a weird restraint and I really don't like it. And then also you have stand-up roller coasters that you have a restraint through the middle of your legs that you kind of sit on, and then over-the-shoulder restraints that help you stand up. We're gonna base restraints off of like, is this restraint comfortable to be in? Is it comfortable throughout the whole ride experience? Is it easy to use? Do you restrain yourself? Do you do your own restraints? Or does a ride op have to come around and do them for you? Is it easy to understand the restraints. You know, is the seatbelt kind of hidden? On Mr. Freeze at Six Flags Over Texas, you have to pull down the lap bar and then buckle the seatbelt into the lap bar. A lot of people don't see that buckle on the lap bar. And then also, do the restraints open and close individually, or is it one whole car of the roller coaster opens and closes all at the same time? Kind of like Carolina Gold Rusher at Carowinds. Restraints can heavily affect ride operations, and they could also have a little effect on smoothness. You know, if you have a really comfortable restraint and you're going through a really whippy coaster, you might score a little higher on smoothness. Some perfect 10 examples for restraints that I love: Fury 325, Thunder Striker, Diamondback, and Orion. They all use the same restraints. It's like a little T-bar with the perfect amount of cushion. Most of them have little seat belts in them. The seat belt's really easy to do. You're comfortable in your chair. The T-bar slides down over your legs, and it's really comfortable and allows you like really a lot of freedom, and it feels like you're just flying on those roller coasters. Banshee at Kings Island. It's a crazy inverted roller coaster with the over-the-shoulder restraints. I actually like those restraints that Banshee uses a lot more than Batman the Ride inverted coaster uses. Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I love those restraints. Those are perfect. You got your seatbelt, and then you pull down your lap bar, you're good to go. Very, very low scoring restraint systems are going to be Carolina Gold Rusher and Cedar Creek Mine Ride at Carowinds and Cedar Point respectively. Those are single lap bars for the whole row, and all 3 lap bars in one car are all connected. So if you have a small kid in the front, that lap bar has to be low enough to secure that small kid when the adult in the 3rd row gets his legs squished. And you have to like cross your ankles and pull your knees down to fit in there. And they all come down at the same time. And then when you're getting off the ride, you have to wait for a ride op to come to each individual car and press a button in the back to release each restraint. So they're not automatic, they're manual, and they're very uncomfortable, terrible restraints. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite restraints on roller coasters are. Let me know if you have some that you hate just as much as I do. Next, we're going to talk about theming. So theming can really make or break a roller coaster experience. You can have a super great roller coaster, but if it's sitting in a parking lot, a lot of people are going to dislike it. So theming has a lot of different things that can make theming great. You've got music, either on ride or in the queue line, the paint on a roller coaster, the station housing, if you have like a character or storyline related to your roller coaster, the landscaping around your roller coaster. Is your roller coaster mainly outdoors or indoors? If you have an indoor roller coaster, you have a lot of opportunity for theming there. Does your roller coaster have a really good lighting package? Is there theming throughout the queue line, or are you just waiting in a concrete line and there's no theming and no entertainment in the queue line? You can have some solid theming, but if the quality is kind of low, then you're going to score a little bit lower on theming. Is there a lot of wear and tear on the paint or theming characters? What's the age of the theme that you're working with? What's the age of the paint on the roller coaster? You know, a lot of those things factor into a roller coaster's theme. Also, does that theme for the roller coaster kind of fit into the park section? You know, I think Top Thrill 2 does that really well. They have a whole section of the park that's like racing themed, and then Top Thrill 2 is your like big drag racer. So some perfect 10 examples for theming are going to be Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. They have a whole storyline and different sections of the queue line that you go through, and they give you a whole presentation about the theme for this roller coaster. There's also on the top of the drop, there's audio where Dr. Diabolical is telling you, "I need your fear." Space Mountain at Disneyland. That's a big dog. They got tons of money. It's a really expensive roller coaster, and they spent a lot of that money on theming, and it shows. Like, that's a perfectly themed roller coaster. Apocalypse at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I think they did an excellent job on the theming for that roller coaster. Very low scoring theming rides are going to be Rougarou at Cedar Point. Bat at Kings Island is way off in the woods. There's not a lot around it. You have to walk way over there. It looks kind of old. There's not a lot going on in the queue line or station. Like, there's really low score on theming. Vortex at Carowinds got a really low score on theming. It's sponsored by Snickers. Okay, the Snickers roller coaster, but there's like nothing going on with it. What roller coasters do you think have the best theming? Let me know down in the comments. Next, we're going to talk about airtime. So airtime has kind of two different types of airtime. One is floater airtime and the other is ejector airtime. Airtime is that feeling you get when you're cresting the top of a hill and you feel like you're kind of coming up out of your seat. Sometimes you can be just kind of like floating, you feel weightless and zero G. That's my favorite type of airtime. And then you also have ejector airtime. Ejector airtime is when you're being like forced way out of your seat and your legs are like squished up against the lap bars. Depending on its execution, it's not really my favorite type of airtime. Airtime can be a really short amount of airtime. You just get a little pop, or you get like a little bit of floater, and then sometimes you get those giant airtime hills and you just feel like you're floating up out of your seat through the whole hill, and you get like a solid 5 to 7 seconds worth of just floater airtime, and that's my favorite. I love that so much. Airtime is heavily affected by restraints and the seated position that you're in. If you have really good restraints and they're really tight, you may not get that much airtime, but if they're just a little bit loose, you can get that really good feeling of airtime. Airtime is one of those things that's kind of tough for roller coasters to score really high on, mainly because not all roller coasters are geared towards providing that airtime. Some roller coasters just aren't built for that. That's not what they're made to do, not meant to do. So some perfect 10 examples of airtime are going to be a Fury 325 at Carowinds. You get a ton of floater airtime. Also Thunder Striker at Carowinds. Those types of like B&M Giga coasters and B&M Hyper coasters, they're kind of sort of built as airtime machines, and you get a ton of great floater and maybe some ejector airtime on there as well. Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point doesn't have a ton of airtime, but the airtime it does have was like really good floater borderline ejector airtime at 420 feet in the air. It gets a perfect 10 for airtime because you can't really experience that almost anywhere else. Falcon's Flight is a different story. It's in Six Flags Qiddiya City in Saudi Arabia. May or may not ever make it over there, but we'll see. Very low scoring airtime roller coasters are going to be like Sierra Sidewinder at Knott's Berry Farm, Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Snoopy's Racing Railway at Carowinds. None of those coasters are built or geared towards airtime, so they score really low on them. I know I didn't mention the airtime king, Steel Vengeance, so I'm sure that's going to be down in the comments. But let me know down in the comments what you think would score a perfect 10 for airtime. Next, we're going to talk about a fun one. This is kind of a big one. Significance. What significance does each roller coaster have within the park or within the industry as a whole? Significance can be based off of history or significance just personally to me. It can be based off of like the ride type. Is it a very unique type of ride? Does it stand out from others? Does it break a whole bunch of records? So roller coasters can have like personal significance just to me. Remember, these are all like my own personal opinions based off of my experiences. So like Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas may not be very significant to the industry as a whole or other enthusiasts, but that roller coaster is very significant to me because it was my 100th credit in 2025. So it's a pretty significant roller coaster just to me. And some of those rides might be really important to me, but nobody else. American Coaster Enthusiast, or ACE, designate different roller coasters as ACE roller coaster landmarks. So obviously the community as a whole is sitting there pointing out like that's a really significant roller coaster. They're putting a plaque on it saying it's a roller coaster landmark. So any of the ACE roller coaster landmarks that I've ridden automatically get a 10 on my rating system. Family coasters. I think family coasters are fairly significant in the roller coaster industry because they help foster that next generation of roller coaster enthusiasts. Family roller coasters are great for that transition from like little kiddie coasters getting into slightly more intense and cool and fun rides. Maybe they're not ready for Iron Rattler, but right next door is the Roadrunner Express. Everybody likes that roller coaster, and you can put all kinds of ages and thrill seeker levels on the Roadrunner Express. So I think family coasters are really significant in the industry as a whole. Also, I want to talk about real quick Magnum XL 200. So my coaster ratings scale is from 0 to 10, but for significance, Magnum XL 200 has gotten my only 11 out of 10 ever in any rating that I've done so far, and probably will be the only 11 out of 10 I will ever score. Magnum XL 200, not only is it an ace roller coaster landmark, but it is the roller coaster that started the coaster wars. It was built in 1989, and it was the first hyper coaster, and it broke a bunch of records when it first opened up, and it basically kicked off this craze of building the next biggest, best, fastest, tallest, world record breaking roller coaster. We saw an explosion of coaster construction in the United States in the 90s and early 2000s, and the one that kicked all that off was Magnum XL 200. Without Magnum XL 200, we wouldn't have rides like we have today. I think it is possibly the most historically significant roller coaster in our industry ever. I'm pretty strict about my 0 to 10 rule, but here on this one occasion, Magnum XL 200 gets an 11 out of 10 on significance. Some examples of roller coasters that score a perfect 10 on significance are going to be, again, like I said, all ace roller coaster landmarks automatically get a 10 from me. So that's like Racer at Kings Island. Again, I mentioned Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas. That was really personally significant to me. I scored X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain a 10 for significance, for a few reasons. One, it bankrupted an entire manufacturer. It was a very, very unique ride, and it's a huge conversation starter in the coaster enthusiast community as a whole. So I rate that as a perfect 10 on significance. Some examples of roller coasters that score very low on significance are going to be like Flying Cobras at Carowinds. It's a clone of the Vekoma Boomerangs. I've got one at Fiesta, Texas called Boomerang Coast to Coaster. Iron Dragon at Cedar Point. It's a cool little suspended coaster, but when you're at Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world, it's a fairly low significant roller coaster. Unfortunately, don't hate me for this one, but like Mystic Timbers at Kings Island, I score that one kind of low in significance simply because it's also surrounded by a collection of other great roller coasters. Mystic Timbers is great. It scores really high on a bunch of other things, but for significance, I think it's kind of low. What roller coasters do you think are the most significant in the whole world, in the roller coaster industry, or just in your local park? Comment down below, let me know. So why do I rate roller coasters this way? Why do I use this method? I rate roller coasters with this method to get a more objective score rather than just based off of how I feel about a particular roller coaster. This metric system that I use kind of helps quantify what makes a coaster good or bad or great. People ask me all the time, why do you like that roller coaster better than that one? Why is that your favorite? And this kind of helps me like have that conversation. Again, I love talking about roller coasters. I'm also a bit of a nerd for data analytics, and combining these two hobbies with roller coasters and data analytics, I get to work with the numbers and have fun, and then I also get like a good product out of it at the end of the day. I've ridden so many amazing rides over the past year. In 2025, I rode 103 different roller coasters. Be sure to check out my video where I give a detailed road of how I got to 100 credits in 2025. Why do I use so many different metrics? So roller coasters are very complex things. There are so many factors that go into making a good roller coaster, and if one of those things is off, it could drastically affect the entire overall ride experience. At the same time, just because a roller coaster doesn't execute one thing really well doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad roller coaster or a bad ride. Sometimes you can have a really great ride with really poor theming, but it's still a solid roller coaster. When I break it down into so many different metrics, this kind of gives me a more in-depth look at the different aspects of each individual ride. You might be asking me, is there a perfect roller coaster out there? I hope so. And I hope I get to ride it one day. I'm gonna go out there and try to find the perfect roller coaster. So far to date, the closest I have found is Fury 325. On my coaster rating scale, Fury 325 scores a 9.7 out of 10. That is the highest rating I have given any roller coaster out of the 103 that I've rated so far, and it is personally one of my favorite rides. In my opinion, on this coaster rating scale, any roller coaster that scores about a 6 or higher, I think that's a pretty solid ride. I think that's a solid roller coaster. coaster. And so far on my rating system, 80 out of the 103 roller coasters that I've rated so far have scored that 6 or higher to make them a solid roller coaster. So I might be a little bit biased because I love roller coasters, but when I break it all down like this, some of these roller coasters are still scoring really highly. So in my opinion, these are some of the first 10 things I think of when I think about what makes a roller coaster good. What are some of the things that you think about when you start rating or ranking roller coasters? And what do you think makes a roller coaster a good ride experience? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. At the end of the day, I love riding roller coasters, and I'm not gonna stop riding roller coasters. Just because I have a bad experience on a ride one day, I'm still gonna go out and ride more roller coasters. I'm going out there into the world and riding as many roller coasters as I can, and come right back here and let you know what I thought about them. So keep an eye out for my coaster rating series coming soon. It will be released within the next month. And here's a little announcement about that series. So last year, I rode roller coasters at 12 different parks across the country. So I had to think about what parks and what collection of roller coasters I was gonna release my ratings for first. Should I just do them in the order that I rode them, or should I try something different? The first collection of roller coasters that I'm gonna be releasing ratings for is Cedar Point. I went to Cedar Point in August of 2025. It was my 6th park of the year. If I'm gonna start this long series of videos rating roller coasters, I might as well start it with a bang and do the roller coaster capital of the world. So stay tuned for that. So thank you all for watching my ratings explanation video. I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight into what I'm talking about when I'm rating different roller coasters and all the different aspects and metrics that I use to rate roller coasters. Feel free to reference this video as you watch my coaster ratings series. If you have any questions about, hey, what is he talking about? What does airtime mean? Come back and watch this video and you'll understand it. I also hope this video helps explain why I rate roller coasters the way that I do. I know it's a little bit much. I'm doing a lot. I do a lot of numbers and data analytics on these roller coasters, but this is kind of why I do it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for future videos, more roller coaster and theme park reviews, information about roller coasters. I've got a ton of videos planned for this coming year, and I have a 2026 announcement coming out soon. So make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. I hope this video encourages you to get out there and ride more roller coasters. Thank you for watching Coaster Kurt's commentary, and don't forget to enjoy the ride.